of your motorcycle. If your day isn't complete without some time in the saddle, if all you need is the open road and a full tank of gas, well, you've come to the right place, because this is Throttled, and it's starting now. Here's your host, Kevin McKinney.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Throttled. So glad you decided to join us once again. Hello to everybody in the live stream. I know you guys will be joining us even more quickly than normal. Larry, Tom, we'll start with Tom. How are you guys today?
Hey, doing well. It's a good, it's been a good week. It's been a good weekend. Had some really nice weather, but yeah, doing well. Another week down and happy camper. I am 2 shots in. Got my second. I am fully vaccinated.
Excellent.
And happy.
2 weeks since your last, or how?
No, just had the last on Tuesday. So yeah, I guess 2 weeks till I can declare fully vaccinated and ready to go out in public to a larger degree.
Right. Well, I'm in a similar situation, except I've had my last shot was about over 2 weeks ago, and actually today I just got back from going to a local outdoor restaurant area where my son's band was playing, and so my wife and I were out there, and it's the first time really that we've gone to any kind of event like that. It was an outdoor event, and it was really lovely. And it feels good to be getting out there again.
Yeah, we've been doing still some outdoor dining. It'll be quite some time before we go indoors, even with the thing. So,
how about you, Kevin?
Kevin, you look like you are sporting a new do.
Oh, I did this a long time ago. I ended up cutting all my hair off. It had gotten. See, when Larry saw me, it was long. 5 months later, it was longer, and so it was just time. It'd been well over a year since I had a haircut, and I guess about 2 months ago, I ended up just kind of shaving it off real down short, and been trying to keep it there. It's great. I don't have to worry about my hair being messy if I wake up late or something like that. So, and with it slowly falling out, I figure like it's probably the best strategy at all. But yeah. So, other than that, I'm a little tired, but I'm doing good. Had 2 very interesting days on the range this weekend. Had a class of RCP students getting their familiarization, and I was asked to be the rider coach for that, and had a good time getting to know everybody, and kind of giving them a very abbreviated, quick version of the range exercises and some of the activities inside, and then giving them a lot of coaching tips and helping them learn how to set up a range and do all that. So it was a lot of fun. I really enjoy working with everybody, and when I have the opportunity to. Since becoming an MSF trainer it's a 2 week. Well, it's not quite 2 weeks. It's nearly 2 weeks of a time commitment to become a trainer, and then when you're actually doing the classes, it's 9 days. I think 9. Maybe 8. I don't remember. It's a lot of days. And that's just hard to do if you're actually working a 24/7 job, 24/7, a regular 40-hour week job, to take a week of vacation to go work a lot on a range and stuff. So I'm probably going to just keep doing what I'm doing and help out when I can. If needed and I'm available, which I may not be, I want to try to go next weekend to help them out. Kind of just be there so the new rider coaches, when they're actually doing their kind of final class with actual students, help out, step in when needed, and answer questions about best practices and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it, and I look forward to the next one. I kind of jump on those as soon as I see one. I try to get my name in first. So
Cool. How big of a class?
10 new rider coaches. Several
for Alabama.
Yeah. Well, two for a Harley dealership in Georgia. Several for the Harley dealership that I worked at last year, kind of filling my spot and some other people's spots, which I find funny that I was helping those guys. The rest of them are for a couple of different Harley dealers here, and then a couple more for the state. So,
So I know Harley does another class of like a 4-day class beyond the RCP.
Yes, they do.
Is that incorporated into this, or
No.
They still go off and do that separate?
That they do that separate, and they're actually doing one of those in a few weeks, months up in Huntsville. That's actually a very good course because you're not really focused when you go through the MSF, as you know, you're not really focused on how to reach everybody. It's more of here's what to reach them, here's the right way to do it, here's the best practices. But when you have difficult students or, you're really trying to reach for goals and stuff, the Harley course is a good course. It's worth taking. I hate the be a Harley salesman portion, which they say they don't do. But yes, anybody that has actually given that course, there's certain points where you're just like, you feel like you're pushing the product, and you are. I hate that aspect because I just want to be a rider coach and not have to worry about their gear. And, if this boot doesn't say this on the bottom, it's not a proper riding boot, all that kind of crap.
So are all 10 going to make it through? Because I remember when I took mine, we had about a 30% attrition rate.
All 10 have the ability and the desire to make it. They're working on their confidence, which is great. But really the light don't come on until Wednesday, Thursday. And so that'll be, if they catch on Wednesday, Thursday, then they'll make it. If not, I will say that one or two of them personally, worried about just setting up the range aspect. It's like, you should have this by now. But, they're coming into this completely green, and they got their materials way later than they normally like to send them out. They just got held up before they got to be able to get delivered. So, and I know some people like, I got mine the day before and all that stuff. And that's tough, because they have to do a lot of study. So.
Yeah. And for those that are listening, just so you know, I'm I guess a relative newbie. I went and got my MSF, rider coach certification about 2.5 years ago. It is a tough course. When I did mine over the course of 3 weekends, over a 4-week period, but it is a huge time commitment and a tough course to get through. So, always cut your rider coaches a little slack. They've put in a lot of time to get that silly card. Yeah,
in Alabama, it's 9 straight days. You go on a Saturday, and the next Sunday you get out.
Yeah, at least I could still work, and it was.
Yeah, because it's. I mean, the way like my class, and we were staying till 9, 10 o'clock every night, going through our student teaching, going through. So, and I'll tell you a little bit how. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. There's a lot of a time commitment. You have to bond. If you don't bond with your teammates doing this, you're going to have a hard time. So there has to be a bonding, and you're working with somebody, and you're planning out how we're going to do this, and you go through it, on paper and write it on the board, and all the things that a rider coach that has been doing it for a while can have a conversation in 15 seconds and be like, I'm going to do this. You good? Yeah, good. And you can go on with it. But when you're first starting out, you're going through basically lap by lap, minute by minute, what we're going to do in this exercise. And that's where you start out at. And then you wrap it up towards the end. Once you've been out there and you've done it a few times, you realize, okay, these are the things that we need to really discuss. And, you know, an experienced coach and a new coach can sometimes have a lot of friction because the new coach is wanting to talk a lot to them and, you know, like, hey, let's really work out what we're going to do. And the experienced coach is just like, look, this is how this is probably going to run. This is what we need to kind of do. Would you rather do A or B? Well, B, but there's no but. Let's just do B and you move on. I've seen some conflict between experienced coaches and new coaches when they first come out. I personally like working with new coaches. It helps center me back because they're like, well, didn't the rider coach guide say this? You know what? It did. You're right. Awesome. Thanks. And they're like, well, it does say that, but this other best practice on the, I don't want to get into all the names, but on MSS, you know, best practice forum, recommends doing X. And so I've been doing this. And so, you know, anyway, riding, I'll start since I'm already talking. I rode to the class and back from the class, and that was it. And actually today was a glorious day to ride. It was a little chilly this morning, lower 50s. You know, I actually threw on the heated gear, didn't really plug it in, just had it heated gear on it has a really good insulation value to it. So I had that on, rode down, had a crisp ride. I mean, it was just a nice ride. Today it never really got too hot. It was mid 70s. On the ride back, you know, nice and cool. Unfortunately, it was all interstate. I had to get back for the show, so I didn't get to go tooling around middle of Alabama like I would have preferred to. But for you guys, it was worth it.
Very nice. Larry, how about you? Any riding?
Yeah, I got out yesterday. It's been a busy week, but I managed to get out yesterday. Weather has been great around here. It's been in the mid 60s during the day, and so I couldn't resist. I took my bike out and did about a 75-mile ride through West Marin, and you know, it was just a glorious day, and beautiful temperature, and I had a very sweet ride. What about you, Tom?
Well, unfortunately, it was one of those weeks, just ran some errands during the week on the scooter. That was about it. Yesterday was pretty rainy here in Georgia, so really nothing out. Today was a fabulous day, but had to head to the airport to pick up my son. And this afternoon, it was like, you know, I just didn't feel like going out and just going someplace. So we just sat around and watched the Masters, the end of the Masters for a couple hours, which was actually a nice, it was a good finish today. It was entertaining.
Yeah, I've got to watch that later, so don't talk anymore about it.
Okay. Sorry. Spoiler alert.
La 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 la. All right, let's see. What is going ding ding dingy everywhere? That would be this guy. Let me turn this guy off. Oh, I'm soft. All right, cool. I was going to say something else. Oh, service announcement. The bike shop in Leeds is putting on a Gymkhana on April 24th. So if you're in the Alabama or Georgia area, Mississippi, Tennessee, and you want to ride down, you know, or ride over or ride up if you're, you know, it's a fun little activity. It's just basically a slow motorcycle course. Occasionally they have some food that's out there and a little bit of just hanging out, chatting. People come and go, transition all day long. Are you just having, Rodney, since you're on, are you just having the one 20-foot, the 24-foot circle and then the little course that you guys design, or is there going to be anything else going on?
So it's sort of like moto jiu-jitsu.
Well, not really. I mean, kinda. It's just basically a very slow moving, curvy course. Think, exaggerated offset weaves and things like that. So, it's if you think about some of the competitions you see where people are just maneuvering their bike through slow obstacles, tight turns, and everything like that. They're having a food truck. Okay, it's not as intense as that, but it's fun, right? So usually what they do is they set up a circle. 24-foot circle, if I'm not mistaken. It could be 20. And they want you to just do circles inside of it. So you do a circle around it, a couple times on the inside of it to the left, and then you do it to the right. That just kind of validates that you can at least get your bike to move and get onto the course, right? So it's kind of, okay, you did that, cool. You're good to go. Here's a sticker. Knock yourself out. The course itself is not hard. It's a bunch of offset weaves. Basically, it's a practice in counterweighting the motorcycle. That's all it is, right? You learn how to counterweight it, and you learn the timing on this is when I need to dip into a corner or, let the bike do X, and then, put yourself in position and everything. They're fun little things to do. Some of them are just straight line weaves. Some are offset. Some are 180s or 90-degree turns. It's just a fun little thing to do. And you go and you slip your clutch a little bit around the thing. You ride it a few times. You go take a break. You go back, ride it again.
Do you get coached while you're doing it?
No. Well, if I'm out there and somebody asks for my help, I'll be glad to give them some tips and advice. If I see somebody struggling with just getting through the circle, I'll usually give them a tip or advice, not as a coach, just as somebody who might have an answer. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not protected under any kind of waiver. But, if somebody's like, hey, can you give me some tips? I'm just like, sure, try X,
Yeah.
Pretty sound.
We got a Facebook group here in Atlanta that started getting together. One guy is really into it, and he's been following the Moto-Jitsu more type of stuff, but very similar, and setting up a big parking lot course about once a month. I stopped by last month after my class because it took place right next door, and I had the scooter, and so I was doing. This was fun. I think it was 40-foot circles on the scooter, and was able to find the hard parts on both sides, leaning the Vespa over.
Nice.
Yeah. I was getting a little too aggressive.
It was good to shave some of that metal off.
Yeah. So Rodney just said, we haven't. This used to be an annual and almost biannual. At one point in time, it was a couple of guys would get together like once a week and set up. Some kind of challenging weave or offset or something. So they were doing all these gymkhana kind of things, or like, figure eights and everything. And just whatever random parking lot they found. But it's been, with COVID and other issues with everybody, it's been a few years, I think, since they've really had one. So since everybody's rusty, Rodney just said that they're going to be pretty easy, pretty simple. But it's never a bad time to go kill some cones. Go swerve around some cones. You'll be surprised.
In Leeds, Alabama?
Leeds, Alabama. Yeah, you'll be surprised. Even if it's simple. If you get out there and you ride it, and this isn't something you do well, you'll realize that, okay, there's part of this that I'm not quite as good at as I thought I would be. I wouldn't expect a rider coach or somebody who's practicing Moto-Jitsu or something like that to be too challenged by it. But it's always fun. Then you get the little guys on their Groms and stuff that just like, and you're just like, I hate you. But yeah, and it's good just to get off and chit chat, and you get somebody pull up in a full dress and like, oh, I can't do that, blah blah blah, and then here comes somebody I know on a gold wing, and I'm just like, well, he's doing it on his gold wing, and they're like, well, and I'm just like, look, dude, just admit you're not able to do it, and he's like, you're right, I can't. And I was like, well, why don't you go practice it? It's okay if you hit a cone or if you go out of line. We got plenty of people here to put the cone back.
We had a guy that the event I was talking about come out in he had bought a new to him Victory Vision, and he was going through the exercise, and talk about a beast of a bike. That thing is tremendous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And still went through it. He did lay it over once, doing one of the weaves, but did well with it.
Yeah, and well, that thing's so easy to lay over. Yeah, I mean, it's people are going, and that's the thing is it's. I hear a lot. Well, I don't want to drop my bike. Okay, I'm not going to talk you into it. If you're not going to want to drop your bike, you're not going to want to drop your bike. I don't want to drop my bike either, but I know. Well, here's the thing. Like at lunch today, right? I went out on my bike. Because somebody said that, oh, I bet it's so much harder to do on your bike. I was like, actually, on my bike, the 20-foot box on the MSF course is easier than the little, 125er ride. And they're like, really? I'm just like, yeah. I've actually got a bike to counterweight with. I was like, I got something there to do. And so I was just out tooling around on my bike. Before I knew it, like 20 minutes went by, and I'm just doing, circles, 16-foot circles and this kind of stuff, just as tight as I get, 18 foot most likely, but, just circles and different kind of things. And then like, okay, there's all these dots. I don't know if this is the weave spacing or not. There's just dots. And I tried to put my front tire, between every one of those dots. Even if they're only 2 or 3 feet apart, I'm trying to, maneuver the bike and have the bike move underneath me, just going around all the dots. I don't really care about the back tires doing, because I'm just doing whatever spacing is available. And I'm just playing around, having a good time. And so I realized I've been doing it for a while. I stop and they get out there and practicing. And one of the people says, like, is that something you do often? And I'm like, well, anytime that I have a range available to me and I can ride on it, I'm going to ride on it. It's just good practice. And, go ahead.
So I'm curious, Larry, you've been practicing that for a while.
Yeah.
Are you still keeping up with it, or?
Well, what I do is sometimes before I go on a ride, I will peel off to the parking lot and I'll do some circles and then I'll weave through some parking spaces, and try to and basically just loosen up. So I don't lay out the cones. I don't take the time to lay out the cones, which is what I did at first. And that actually is a better exercise, because if you lay out the cones, then you're pushing yourself harder than what I'm doing now. But still, I find that the exercise loosens me up, and it does make it easier for me to do slow speed maneuvering when I'm out on the road.
Very nice.
All right, so I just killed myself. So let's do this. We've been
schmoozing.
Yeah, we've been talking about all sorts of stuff here for the first 20-something minutes. Let's go ahead and jump into our topic, which is the Royal Enfield Meteor 350. That I don't remember them announcing this, but apparently there's some first ride reviews. And maybe they did announce it and we didn't talk about it, or if we did talk about it. I think they announced it, but it wasn't named yet. I think we've talked about something like a small standard that Royal Enfield was coming out that may make it to the U.S. And this is like a while ago, honestly, I think it was right before the crap happened with COVID. So I remember something about Royal Enfield coming out with like a small CC bike coming to the U.S., and I don't think it had a name at a time. So if that is what we talked about, most likely it is the Meteor, which decent name for a bike. I got a Meteor. Not bad. Not bad. Yellow and black paint matches it. Not bad. So it's a 2021 Meteor 350. And it, they keep talking about this like it's a cruiser. This is just a standard bike to me. I don't understand.
It's the pedals are a little bit forward.
Are they?
I would say I agree. Yeah, I think they are. The pegs would have to be about 6 inches back for it to be, I think, a standard.
So I guess I just look at it as a mid-controlled standard.
No, they call it a casual foot forward peg position.
Oh, okay. So that's the new name for mid-control. Got it.
It's a little bit forward of mid, I think. So that hence the cruiser designation.
Well, I'll say this. For somebody, the leg length of the girl riding it in the pictures, you have a nice 90-degree knee bend.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody maybe taller than that could have some issues.
So it's curious you said that because I didn't see how tall she was, but she happened to make mention about trouble getting her foot and toe under because of the way the seating position is and where the pegs are, getting her toe underneath the shifter. And it was a challenge for her size 10s. So I had to look as like, okay, wait a minute, this is written by a woman. So let me go see I had to look it up to see what does that equate to in a men's shoe. So a women's size 10 is an 8.5 in a men's shoe. So in a guy's 8.5, she was having trouble getting her toes underneath. Depending on the shoe, I wear a 13 or 14. I can't imagine what it would be like to have my feet on these pegs and try and shift. But she did make mention, though. I guess it has a heel shifter as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, then if that's okay. So if it's got a heel shifter, then they probably built it with the realization that you're going to use the heel shifter. Like if there's a heel shifter on a bike, the toe shifter can become hard to use because you crank it down to raise the heel shifter up, so you actually have something to tactily touch. So okay.
Technically, it looks, I guess, like a mini cruiser with mid controls.
Okay.
Meant for perhaps smallish folks.
I will relent on the standard. Still looks like a standard, but anyway, all right. So, but I think the looks of the bike, black and white, two-tone. I like the highlights, and I don't know what other colors are out, and I don't think there's any images. It's just the yellow and black. The yellow around the rim is a nice touch. I wouldn't be surprised if they come out with a black tank with the yellow Royal Enfield on it, just kind of as an inverse contrast with keeping the same rims. It looks like it's got, it does have ABS as standard. It's got Biber. Is it Biber? How do you say that? BYBRE brakes. Biber? Bibre? I don't know. Biber?
Stoppies.
Biber?
The brakes that stop.
Yeah. No go mechanical things. But there's a lot of other things we could get into it. A couple notes from it is, the price point, starting price of this bike is $4,399. It is partly oil cooled, partly air cooled. It has, and I agree with reading some of the article here. They really talk about the negative space in the engine. It really, the negative space looks good. It's not like there's a abstract void there. It actually looks good having that negative space, that openness to the engine. Makes it much more authentic. Isn't the right word I'm looking for, but I guess it gives it some character. If I were to act like I know what art talk is like. Standard round headlight, nothing too fancy there. Yeah, I honestly, from the looks of it, like the speedometer, Well, the odometer. So it's got a tradition. It's not really traditional. It's got the two round little display units. Both have it looks like an LCD display in the middle of them. One in the picture has the time. The other one has, your trip meter, your gas gauge, and all that stuff. On the outside of that is more of a analog speedometer with the needle that moves up and around the entire thing. Kind of a throwback look to it. Something that I would expect to see out of like a 1950s car or something. That's really what it reminds me of.
Right, but the small speedometer that has the time on it is actually a navigation system.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes, and this is one of the first really particularly entry level bikes that comes with as standard a built-in
Google Maps
navigation system.
Yeah, powered by Google Maps. Tripper.
Yeah. Yep.
Isn't that a cute little name? Tripper.
So I think.
And I'm curious for you guys. So I'm looking at the picture of the speedometer, and I don't know why manufacturers do this, but it goes up to 120 plus miles an hour. Well, they state right in the article the max speed of this bike is 70 to 74 at best.
Well, downhill with the tailwind.
Oh, please. I mean, that just seems overly optimistic. Yeah, excessive.
Well, so anybody that's been in a professional career, the perception of fact sometimes is more important than the fact itself.
Yes. And plus the fact that they may use the speedometer in a variety of bikes, some of which may have bigger.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, parts bin. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
But you're right. Obviously, for this bike, that's
all right. I want to point out one other thing that I noticed on it. So it has 17.4 horsepower.
Yeah.
Just want it to be known. My Vespa makes 22 horsepower.
Oh yeah. But
unfortunately, my Vespa also costs twice the amount of this.
Right.
But
well, nobody is arguing this bike is a super bike.
I think an around town bike, this might be just a neat commuter thing.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, and then I was going to ask as far as the other. I read this article twice, and then I came back and looked at it again. It's like, well, what about a market as far as like as an MSF trainer bike? This might be a neat little bike to have.
Yeah,
to learn on.
I mean, it's possible.
Simple, cheap.
Yeah, but they're. I'd have to ride it before I could make that judgment. That's one of those things that you have to kind of get on the bikes because. Certain bikes look like they make good trainer bikes, then you get on them and you're just like, oh gosh, that would be horrible. But you've got, so like I said, ABS. What was the other thing that I was going to pull out? It's a 5-speed, which given its max speed, that's not surprising, right?
Right. Yeah, it has a max speed of like 75, I think. Mm-hmm. But it's got the engine is smoothed out with a balancer, and I think with rubber cushioning, so that it doesn't. Yeah, it has a balance shaft, so it eliminates vibration in all conditions, according to this review. So you can ride it at higher speeds, and the bike is reasonable to ride. It's very easy to ride. It's got a seat height, I think, of 29.5 inches, so it'll accommodate just about any size rider.
I mean, I'll give him credit for a small bike that doesn't look like the transformer or insect styling that seems to be prevalent in a lot of brands.
Yeah, no, this is a classic.
I mean, well, it's a Royal Enfield, right? They're going to keep it pretty standard's not the right word there, but standard.
So curiously, though, I had just read another article, and this I think was a few weeks ago, though, about Honda is making another version of their CB350, although it's not coming to the U.S. This could perhaps force their hand and have them bring it to the U.S. I think it's an Asian bike for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Well, it would be
So,
interesting to see, if this bike stimulates some competition, because I do think that it's a really good entry-level bike, for one thing. They also mentioned that it has a very comfortable seat, reasonable suspension. So for a initial bike, an entry-level bike, this bike, I think, really seems to hit most of the marks.
it's just their dealer network is so sparse. I mean,
Well,
I've got one. I might have to stop in and see, when this might hit. But I've got a Royal Enfield dealer. He's just a couple miles away, but I think he's the only one in the state of Georgia.
we have, I think, one out here in Northern California that I know of, but Royal Enfield is really making a point of trying to increase their dealer network. They do offer a substantial warranty on these bikes as well. So, if something does go wrong and you can find a dealer, you'll probably be able to get the bike serviced. They're relatively simple, but this is a single-cylinder bike, relatively simple overall. Not a whole lot that could go wrong with them. If they can support these bikes, I think this is a very credible entry-level bike. Not only entry-level, but I'm also thinking that for somebody kind of like me, who's kind of on the other side of their riding career, a bike like this may be a bike to consider when you're sort of downsizing.
Yeah, I mean, when if you're not going to do long rides or spend time on the highway and just looking to get around town or some easy rides on 2-lane roads, yeah, not like you say, cheap entry point, cheap maintenance, and looks like a fun bike to get out on.
All right, so we're at the about 40-minute mark. And Larry, it looked like you had several things in the paddock to talk about.
Okay. Basically what I had in the paddock was actually had to do with the bagger, the King of the Baggers racing that started last year, and that now is getting a really big infusion of interest from Indian and Harley. This I thought was pretty significant. Harley is, to my understanding, is now sponsoring a team, a factory Harley team in the race, and they're going to have racer Tyler O'Hara and Wyman on their team supporting the bikes. And these are experienced riders, and it's to me very interesting that Harley Davidson has decided to get into this more seriously. Last year in the King of the Bagger race, Indian won it, but a Harley bike did come in second, and I think Harley is interested in promoting this. This race, I think, is going to garner a lot of attention in the future, just because there are so many people currently riding baggers, and there is so much interest in the Indian versus Harley competition, and this race, I think, is going to really symbolize that. So Harley Davidson is sponsoring a team, and that is, I think, quite significant. Also quite significant, I think, is that Indian has indicated that they are going to actually be an official partner of the series. Now, last year there was one race for this. In 2021, there will be, I think, 3 official races, and Indian has come on board as an official partner, and they will be sponsoring a team to ride in the race. So the two major bagger manufacturers are sponsoring not only the race series, but also individual teams in the race. This is going to be quite interesting and I think fun to watch. Um, Obviously, watching baggers go around a race course is fascinating in itself. It's amazing how well and how fast these riders can take these behemoths through the course. So I think it's going to be fun to watch this year, and I encourage everybody to give it a look and see and see what they think. What's your guys' reaction to this?
I'll let Tom go first.
So it comes to mind the phrase, they always say, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything.
Ah, come on.
So I shouldn't say anything.
All right, so I personally think it's great. It's funny, and honestly, think about this: if Harley Davidson they sell the most motorcycles, it's your biggest target audience, really. So you get the racing audience because it's racing, and they don't care what it is; they'd watch it race, right? They're two snails going at it. They're all So you got the racing fanatics. But then you got and it's like, okay, it kind of gets back to the old stock car thing. I can go buy this, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. So this lets you go and all right, so it's one of these we know it's not, but it's one of these. And so I like the idea. I just hope all the luggage, all the bags are like standard size, standard widths. I'd like to see it be more stock, or you can only, like I mentioned before, you can only update it by parts that are readily available in the books that you get now. No customizing, other than just bolt-ons. So I think that'd be kind of cool. But I think it's fun. It's a good alternative to those who don't like the street racing, and it takes a different type of skill too. It's not just, it's not the same mentality. It's not the same technique. So it should be fun.
Oh yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting, and like I said, I expect that this series is going to grow in popularity because it does represent such a large sector of American motorcycling. So stay tuned to this. This is a growing segment, and having watched last year's race, I have to say that these guys show an extraordinary amount of skill and dexterity riding these behemoths in a motorcycle race course. It's really astonishing how well they can ride these bikes.
All right, Tom, I know you had some things you wanted to talk about in review. You want to just do the in and out, in motion, is that right?
In Motion, yeah. So for those that may not know, In Motion is a French company that makes the brains and manufactures airbag vests for a number of manufacturers. So in Europe, it's a few different brands. I know Held is one. There's a couple others that are very popular in Europe. Their U.S. distributor is Climb. Or Larry likes to pronounce it a different way, but we're going to go with Climb, the way that they intend it.
Climb.
As I cut off Larry, it's like
Climb.
So it's manufactured by Climb. This is a vest that is electronic, and so it's I've been wearing this vest for about 6 months now, and It's got a little module on the back that turns it on and off. And I've had an ongoing issue since I had it of it not always turning on and turning off. You have to press the button real fast twice. And so I've had to work around is, okay, you had to pop the module off, and then there's a primary on-off button. So I was like, finally, I decided to write to their, because there's been an ongoing, in one of the forums, a big ongoing discussion that I've been involved in. So I wrote their customer service. And, this is the way customer service should work. I just wanted to know a fix. Emailed them. About maybe 2 hours later, I get an email back telling me a few things that I might try and where to find some instructions in the manual. I wrote back, said, yep, I've tried all that. I've done this, I've done that. Very familiar with how it works, and this has been ongoing, intermittent, so I can't plus it. So, do you have a fix? They write me back, again, this all takes place within probably a 5-6 hour period, saying, hey, we're going to send you a replacement. We obviously you're having a problem there. So, validate your shipping address, and we're going to get one out the door to you. This all took place, I think it was on Monday. I got it on Friday with a return envelope and shipping label to send my old one back. Popped it in, worked perfectly. So shout out to a company that, I'm in the customer service business. So when a company does good customer service, you rarely hear of it, but always want to give those companies a shout out that do it well.
That's great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I had a somewhat similar experience with TCX boots a few years ago. So I like to promote companies that go that extra step ahead of their customer and do it well and not make you jump through all kinds of hoops when you're having an issue. And I didn't even ask for a replacement. That was the funny part, is that I just wanted a fix. But their fix was, hey, let's just give you another one. Let's not even deal with it. And I like the vest a lot. I enjoy it. I think it's easy to wear. Whether it works or not, I have no idea, and I hope I never do.
Me too.
Yeah,
But I'm sure it will work because the technology is fairly well proven at this point.
It is, and this company, just so you know, is also supplies vests to MotoGP and whatever the other racing super sport, or what they are, Larry. I don't follow racing, but they're just not on the retail side. They also do quite a bit of racing airbags.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Well,
that was it. So good experience there with a Climb product. Even though I wasn't dealing with Climb, I was dealing with the maker of the brains of the vest.
Well, I think you've got some more Climb stuff to talk about next week, and I'm sorry to push that off, but we could do that then if it's still relevant. And
gear is always relevant.
Yeah, this is true. All right. So let's give a shout out to our Throttle crew members, to everybody that helps keep the show going. We really appreciate it. If we work on a value for value kind of proposition, right? Everybody knows that. If you've been listening for a while, you understand how that works. We'd really appreciate you. If you're wanting to kind of give back to the show, help the show out a little bit, go to the podcast website, throttledpodcast.com. Click on the Patreon logo near the bottom of the front page and get signed up. Or if you're already on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/throttled and get signed up there as well. So we love to have your support and your help and any amount of donation. We really appreciate and can't thank you enough. All right. So that's probably going to be rounding it out. So let's start this process. You guys know we're on Twitter and Facebook, at Throttle Show on Twitter and Throttle Podcast on Facebook. We do broadcast live every Sunday, 7:30. And we do our best to get something out on Twitter and Facebook about 15 minutes before the show. If you're on Instagram and we get out and we end up taking a picture, hit us up at Throttled Show on Instagram. Usually that ends up correlating to some kind of trip I'm taking on the bike or something like that. Starting to plan several things, and I don't know what's going to come to fruition or not. So I'm keeping it kind of under wraps because I don't want to build it up for myself, honestly, and be let down. And then remind her like, hey, whatever happened to this? Oh, yeah. Wah, wah, wah. But I'm trying to get some things, and part of it is when we did the Loud Pipes ride, I really enjoyed posting on Instagram, like, here's what's going on, and that was a lot of fun. So I'd like to get back to where I'm doing more than that, and I feel like I should do it more for when I'm just out riding, but I don't want it to be necessarily a personal thing. I kind of want to make it show related. So I'm trying to find some things and put some things together that are show related to do towards that, or at least incorporate the show in it somehow. But yes, we are on YouTube, and push these things out there, Twitter and Facebook, and all of our links. So if you want to go back and watch something instead of listening, go check out our Facebook and Twitter pages, and you've got the links to the podcast, right? If you do end up finding us on YouTube, help us out. I mean, it really helps us out. Give us a subscription, subscribe, hit that like button. If you want to know when we go live, get the little notification, click on the notification icon and get all that set up as well. But, every thumbs up, every like, every subscription ends up in the long term helping us, because maybe we're able to get in one person's recommendation eventually, and that's just another fan we've created for the show. So everything you guys could do would be grateful, helpful there. If you want to send us mail, feedback at throttledpodcast.com. Go to the website, throttledpodcast.com. Click on the contact tab. We get that in the same mailbox. Outside of that, I got nothing else. Tom.
That's plenty.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot. Tom, you want to sign off?
Absolutely. Everybody have a good week. Enjoy your rides. Hopefully you get out there a little bit and enjoy some of the spring weather. Yes.
Larry.
Yes, I agree. Get out there and ride when you can. Weather's improving. COVID is starting to recede in a lot of parts of the country, so things are looking up. So, get out there and ride, and make sure that when you do, you ride your own ride. Kevin?
All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I really appreciate every one of you. You are part of this wacky journey that we do called motorcycles, and we look forward to the next show. So get out there and ride, enjoy the weather, but when you're out there, ride safe. We'll talk to you next time. All right. And everybody in the live stream, same goes to you. Thank you so much for being so great. The live chat was awesome.
As usual.
Yeah. And if you guys are interested and you're around, or you're watching this on the replay, because we got about 40 something people that watch this on replay on YouTube, and you're in the Alabama area, the 24th, stop by and tell Rodney, like, hey, I heard about this on the podcast, and talk to those guys. Rodney and everybody there associated are great. We will see you all next week. Remember, that is the bike shop in Leeds for the Gymkhana, for those of you that are interested, and we'll try to give another shout out next weekend. All right, everybody. Rodney, remind me to do that next weekend.